That's Enough Out of You podcast is sponsored by Todd John's Law. Unfortunately, bad things happen to good people, whether it's the result of an auto accident caused by the carelessness of another driver or being charged with a crime. Dealing with the aftermath of a personal injury accident or being involved with the criminal justice system can be extremely difficult. That's why, whatever you're facing, you should never go it alone. You need an experienced attorney who will stand by you every step of the way. Todd is experienced, licensed, trusted, respected, and guaranteed. No one will work harder or more diligently on your behalf, and he will personally handle your case from beginning to end. Located on Drinker Street in Dunmore, Pennsylvania, Todd has been representing the legal rights of Scranton and Wilkes-Barre personal injury victims and those accused of a crime for over 20 years. At Todd John's Law, the utmost priority is ensuring that your rights are always protected and that your case is resolved as quickly and fairly as possible so that you can move on with your life. Call Todd John's Law at 570-876-6903. With Todd John's Law, you will receive equal justice under the law. All right, hello, welcome to That's Enough Out of You. I am your host, Bill Rader, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Sean Kane. Sean, what's going on?
Billy Ray is the big man on the biggest hill in Archibald.
Why is it the biggest hill? That's not the biggest hill.
Sure it is.
You know, we live on the same street.
We do, yeah. Yeah, but I live at the bottom of the hill. You live at the top.
So if I roll down the hill, I'll end up in your house.
Oh, boy. My
car rolls down the hill, goes right into your living room. Oh, so what do we got going on? Hey, we got, I don't know if people have noticed over the last couple of weeks, but we have a sponsor. We have our very first sponsor for our podcast, and that is Todd John's Law, LLC. So Todd is, he's a friend of ours. He is an attorney here in Northeast Pennsylvania, and he loves the show. And he got in touch with me and said, "Hey, would you mind, would I be able to support the show, advertise on the show?" And I said, "Yeah, of course, we'd love that." So those ads that you hear in the beginning of the show, that's our buddy Todd. And he's, if you have any legal issues, if you're, you find yourself in a bit of a bind, if something happens, you need a lawyer, Todd's a good guy to call. So Todd John's Law, and he's located in Dunmore here in Northeast Pennsylvania. So thank you.
We thank Todd very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, got a lot of other stuff going on with the podcast, Sean.
We got the merchandise store up, Billy.
That's right.
And we got recommendations. Joe Walton, big listener, mentioned that maybe we should get like shot glasses or wine glasses or something. So anybody, any request that's not on the merch store that you want, just send us a message and we'll see what we can do. But we got, cups and shirts and hoodies and everything up there.
Stickers.
Stickers, yes.
Yeah. So, check it out. You go to our website, that'senoughoutofyou.com, and just click on the, what is it? The store? Click on the store link.
You click on the store at the top.
Yep. And that'll get you to our merch store. And, we got a lot of stuff on that website. You go to our Patreon. We got articles out there. We got blogs. What's the latest
every episode on there, Billy? You can get the articles, everything.
Podcast. Buddy. What's your latest article that you have up there, Sean?
I think I wrote one about the last one I put up there is another one debunking this stupid mob rigging the election crap that I'm just getting so tired of the mob did it stuff. And I don't know, Billy, what we have to do to prove that, maybe after the Jim D'Eugenio episode airs, we really talked about that at the beginning. Maybe, we'll stop that. And because it's just such a bunch of garbage, Bill.
Yeah.
So that one's up there. There's just so many stuff on JFK. There's a lot of mob stuff on there. I have one on JFK in the Congo up there that's pretty interesting. So a lot of good stuff, buddy. There's stuff on premium intel on Patreon that only for our patrons. A lot of good information on that, and some stuff on the future of the podcast, Bill. Some upcoming guests and stuff.
All right, sounds good. And I know we got a few new Patreons since the last time we talked about it. Do you happen to have their names?
Yeah, Scott Alfieri, Bill is one of them, and he's got a question tonight because tonight's episode is going to be questions and comments, and we're going to try to catch up, Billy. It's hard to catch up, They keep coming in, and it's great feedback. A lot of the comments are so really intelligent. I mean, it's just great. Some of the questions, and Scott's got one, and patrons come first. We're going to kick it off with him, buddy.
All right, sounds good. All right, so yeah, this is a bonus episode, bonus episode with we'll do some Q&A and any comments that we have that Sean, you want to bring up?
Well, we got our old friend is back too with some hate mail. The American
Patriot. We love American.
We won't get to him. We won't get to him first, though.
I'm surprised American Patriot. I'm surprised he's not a Patreon. I really am. I figured he would.
He hates us, Billy. He hates us, but he listens every week.
He loves us. He wants us to think he loves us, though. Otherwise, why would he keep listening?
That's a good point, buddy.
Why would he keep listening? I think he loves this show. I really do. I think he sits there and he goes, "Yes, that's exactly what I think, but I can't tell anybody. So I'm gonna send them an email, or I'm gonna put a comment in there that I hate."
He listens and comments every week. So
all right, well, he's probably sitting refreshing every 5 seconds, waiting for the show to come on because he agrees with everything that we say. I know that's the case. I know it.
All right, Billy, you ready? We're gonna get into this, buddy.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so the first one is from our newest patron, Scott Alfieri in California, and this is a great question, Billy. So here's what he says. He says, the way the hit of Castellano was carried out, disguises, and how they threw off witnesses' ability to describe the assailants, and the public nature of it, seems like someone involved learned from intelligence organizations. Do you guys know, did Castellano have any alleged connections with Intel or with even Wall Street or white collar organizations? It's also amazing someone at the mid-level like a John Gotti was able to assume power the way he did, and that never occurred before. Also, did the feds know this was going to happen with Gotti? Wow, there's a lot to unpack there, Billy. That's a great question. And
that's like a 5-part question right there.
Well, the thing is, there is a lot in there that reminds you of an intelligence operation, with the disguises, with everything.
Yeah.
But I have no knowledge of anybody that was involved having Intel connections. I've never seen anything on that. And as far as, any connections to Wall Street or white collar organizations, I mean, Castellano did. We know he had legitimate businesses. I think DeChico did as well. Because remember, Frank DeChico is really the mastermind behind it. We talked about that.
Right. He planned this whole thing.
Yeah, he planned it. So, but as far as, Gotti coming up, I mean, he had a lot to mid-level guy. That's correct. But DeChico, was really the powerhouse behind everything. And as far as what the feds knew, they were following everything. I mean, I told the story about John Miller said that a law enforcement official took him aside and said that, Gotti's behind it. So they had to know something. But, they were kind of thrown off because remember, they were sitting at a conference when the pagers went off and they were notified then that Castellano got whacked. But I don't know how much they knew coming up to that moment. I knew they knew that there was tension in the ranks there, but how much they actually knew, not sure. But that's an interesting question, Bill, about did they have any intelligence connections? Because the way that went down, I mean, it's pretty interesting. That does sound like an Intel operation, Bill, but I've just never seen anything connecting like the Chico or Gravano or anybody, to intelligence agencies.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think it was just a good way. Well, if there's a good way to kill somebody, but you know what I mean? I think it was just, they thought it through. They thought, okay, how are we going to do this in the middle of New York City with, thousands of people walking around at a steakhouse and Christmas time. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, the information I got,
surprised.
Billy, is that it was actually Jimmy Coonan and the Westies that came up with that idea
Yeah.
and floated it to Gotti about wearing disguises and everything. So
Yeah.
I've never been aware of any connections the Westies had to any intelligence organization. So
yeah, I'd be surprised. And then as far as the FBI or police knowing ahead of time that it was going to happen, I would doubt that as well. I think, if they had any kind of wiretap information or anything like that, that would have been used, against John Gotti in one of the many trials that he won prior to his conviction. So I'd be
that's a good point.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if they had anything tying him to that murder, any hard evidence tying him to the murder.
All right, so that's a good question from Scott. Next one, Bill, is a great name, Potatoes O'Brien from Boston. And he says, Sean, I don't think Whitey Bulger was really an FBI informant. What are your thoughts on this matter? And Bill, this is something I've been investigating for a long time. No, I don't think Whitey Bulger was. I think we're going to do an episode on this, Bill. We're going to talk about this a lot. Because remember, Bulger has ties to MK Ultra, in a lot of the hits, like the Roger Wheeler, the billionaire in Oklahoma. That doesn't ring as a mob execution. That's more of a deep state type hit. So I think Bulger was involved with the government, in doing things like assassinations and stuff, Billy. And I think that he was the cover was used as him being an FBI informant, because I've seen a lot of the documentation, Bill, really just about everything that's been released on Bulger's apparent informant files. And it's nothing in there that would get anybody convicted. It's all gossip. It's all garbage. It's just, there's not one person that I know of that's ever been convicted because of information given from Whitey Bulger to the FBI. I mean, the information was always flowing from the FBI to Whitey Bulger. And then his handler, John Conley, would be cooking the books. He would get information from other informants and give credit to Whitey Bulger. But I mean, no, I don't think he was a real, what you would call, informant. And I have a contact, Bill. I'm trying to get somebody on that actually was a detective on the case, on the Bulger case.
Really?
And he said, yeah, and we're working on, I don't know if it's going to happen, but he's a little reluctant. But he said that a lot of the information, it just doesn't add up why the FBI would protect this guy. And he's basically giving them nothing. He's giving them nothing in return. And that's not the way the informant system works. And then the thing is, a lot of the stuff that bothers me, going back to when Bulger was in Alcatraz and he became, involved with this MK Ultra program, and there were psychiatrists visiting him, Bill, and they were giving him things like the readings they were giving him, like Machiavelli and Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Like, why would you give that to a guy like Bulger? Like, you're trying to create a mob boss? Is that what you're trying to do? Like, it just, and then when he gets out of prison, he had no violence in his background, no murders on his record. And then when he gets out of prison, he basically declares war on organized crime in New England and takes it over. And we know what happens. He's involved in countless murders and ordering murders, and a killing spree that went on for 20 some years. And the FBI's protected him. But what did the FBI get in return? Like, I'm telling you, Bill, I went through all these files and stuff, and the information is just, there's nothing that would get anybody convicted. It's just all garbage, and then the way that Bulger ended up getting killed, I have a lot of suspicions with that. I mean, that's, that's a whole show on its own. So I don't know what you feel about that, Billy.
I don't really know. I mean, all I've been told over the years that he was an FBI informant. I mean, clearly the FBI didn't really keep him under wraps. I mean, he was out there killing people, and he was just a madman, even with his relationship.
But they're protecting him for 20 some years, Billy, and they're really getting no information back in return. Nothing.
Yeah, that does. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. That
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a show on that, and we're going to tie in Old Man Patriarcha, the boss of the Rhode Island family, because there's some interesting stuff. That's going to be a really interesting episode, but that'll be coming down the line, Billy.
All right. Sounds good.
All right.
Good question. And that was Potatoes O'Brien. That's got to be
Potatoes O'Brien.
That's got to be the best listener nickname. You guys got to step up your game if you want to. You got to, keep up with Potatoes O'Brien.
Going to be tough to beat that one.
It is.
So, okay, buddy. So now we got our old friend. Let's get to the American Patriot.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's what he said. He says, every week, you two guys get worse and more inactual. We were right in Vietnam, dare to free people. Dulles was a great FBI director, and Johnson was a really good president, among the best of all time. Wow.
Wait, what was?
Well, there's a lot of mistakes in there.
What was it that Luke Skywalker said in The Last Jedi? He said, everything you just said. It's amazing. Everything you just said was wrong.
Well, first of all, Billy,
is inactual. First of all, is that a word? Inactual? I don't even think
it is, but I don't think it's I don't think he meant that. I think maybe I don't know what word he's trying to use, but it doesn't really fit what he's trying to say here. I don't know. But first of all, Dulles was not the FBI director. That was another despicable character named J. Edgar Hoover.
Right.
Dulles, to say he was a great director though, the CIA, are you kidding me? Like assassinations all over the world, regime changes, removing elected officials. I mean, the stuff he oversaw, like the MK Ultra, the experiment on American citizens. I mean, we could go on. Operation Chaos. I mean, operations against their own citizens. I mean, I don't understand how you could say he was a great director. And as far as Vietnam, I mean, how were we there to free people when 75% of the country didn't want us?
Right.
I mean, they were against us. So I don't understand that. We went over that whole thing with the Vietnam episode. And to say Johnson was a really good president, I mean, come on, Patriot. I mean, yeah, he did pass some civil rights legislation that Kennedy had, but you got to give Bobby credit for that too, because Bobby stayed on to make sure that some of that got passed. And then Johnson basically changes all of JFK's foreign policies. And, he escalated the war in Vietnam. Just for that alone, what he did in Vietnam makes him, in my opinion, one of the worst presidents.
Right.
I don't know how you could say he was a really good president and among the best. I don't know, Billy. I'm sure we'll get another comment from the Patriot.
That's good. No, and I just looked up inactual. So he may be right. The definition of inactual, used as an adjective, is lacking present validity, no longer applicable, or old-fashioned and out of date. So I think you're right about that. I know I'm old-fashioned. I'm out of date. So he's right about that. We are or at least I am inactual. Everything else he said though he's full of shit. But thank you, American Patriots, for listening. And Sean, I guarantee you, he's sitting by his phone or his computer. He is refreshing every 5 minutes. And when one of these bonus episodes comes up where we actually talk about him, he's probably like, he's got a smile ear to ear right now. He's so happy that we're talking about him.
I don't know, Bill. Does he really believe this, though? Does he really believe that Johnson was one of the greatest presidents? I mean, I don't know.
No,
I just think he's trying to aggravate us, Bill.
He wants us to talk about him, and we're doing it. So you got what you asked for. You got what you wish for, American.
All right. So
someday we're going to get him.
Hey, Bill.
Someday we're going to get him on the show.
We are, Bill.
Promise
we'll
you.
get him
I
on.
promise you.
But hey, I'll give him a little credit though. He toned down. There's no profanity in this, Billy.
And he used it. He must have been sober when he wrote that, Sean. He actually used the word that describes us that I didn't even think was a word. So, he probably maybe he ran out of Jack Daniels or whatever, and he's like, all right, now I'm going to put a comment in there.
Oh boy.
So thanks, American Patriot. Appreciate it.
All right, Patriot. Thanks. I always welcome your comments. And Bill, we got another return customer, Billy. Dobson. Right. Remember Dobson from Miami? I told him last time he made that comment about the Yankees and Notre Dame being overrated.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I told him, I says, I want to hear your opinion, Dobson. I don't want to hear what the mainstream media is saying. And he responded, Bill. So he said, guys, here's the reasons. I hate Notre Dame because I'm a Miami Hurricane fan. And I hate the Yankees because I see too many of their fans down here in Florida. So he's got another question, Bill. But before we get to that, I thank Dobson for coming back with, the truth here.
Yeah.
Give me your opinion. Yeah, you hate Notre Dame, you hate the Yankees. That's great. But tell me why you hate them. And he gave the reason, Billy. So I like that.
Good.
So he has a question here. He said, Sean, who would be your top 5 all-time Notre Dame coaches? Would Brian Kelly make the list? No, Brian Kelly wouldn't make the list. I mean, this is an easy one, Billy. Newt Rockney's number 1.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not even, Number 2 is Frank Leahy. I mean, Leahy went 4 years. His teams never trailed a game for 4 years in a row.
Wow.
3 would be Ara Parsegian, which tells you about the history of Notre Dame football when Ara Parsegian is number 3.
Yeah, really.
And number 4 would have to be Lou Holtz. I mean, he could have won more national championships. He only has the 1, but he played a brutal schedule. And his record against top 10 teams is incredible, Billy. And it's ranked teams. I mean, Holtz is definitely number 4. And number 5, I'm not putting Brian Kelly. I'm putting Dan Devine as number 5. Dan Devine, even though he doesn't have the longevity of Brian Kelly, he has a national championship with Joe Montana, and he could have won a second national championship if it wasn't for Herschel Walker in the Sugar Bowl. So, Brian Kelly would probably be number 6. Brian Kelly won a lot of football games for Notre Dame, but he couldn't beat Alabama. He couldn't beat Georgia. He couldn't beat Ohio State, and he didn't do that great against Clemson. So the 4 elite teams in college football, Brian Kelly couldn't beat. So I can't put him in the top 5.
Yeah.
But, Billy, I do want to get to something here because I looked up some information on this stuff that, because it frustrates me when the mainstream media says Notre Dame is always overrated. So I went back here, Billy. We're going to go back here. It started 2012. They came into the season unranked, okay? And they made it to the national championship game. And of course, they did get hammered by Alabama, but they finished number 3 in the country. So They definitely weren't overrated that year because they came in the season unranked. 2013, their preseason rank was 16 and they finished 19. So that's basically, around where they were supposed to finish.
Right.
2014, their preseason rank was 18 and they finished 25th. Which is close, but I mean, they also started that season 6-0 and then lost that game to Florida State on the referee's screw up call on that one. 2015, preseason ranked 10, they finished 10th. Can't do any better predicting that one, Billy. Now, 2016 is the one case they have. That was the disaster season. Their preseason rank was 10. They finished 4-8. Not ranked, obviously. And that was the one that Brian Kelly was forced to make some changes by the athletic director. And after that, 2017, they came into that season not ranked, and they ended up finishing number 10 in the country. And for a while there, they were the best team in the country for a stretch there. That was a tough schedule, a really good team. But again, they're actually underrated again. 2018 preseason rank, number 12, and they finished number 4, and they made the playoffs. So again, not overrated. 2019, Billy, preseason rank number 10, and they finished number 11. So pretty much close. And then 2020, preseason rank number 10, and they finished number 4 and made the playoffs and lost to Alabama 31-17 in the playoffs. So not overrated that year. In 2021, preseason ranked number 8, and they finished number 8. So pretty good. And then last year, the preseason rank, I think they were a little overrated last year. Preseason number 5, and they ended up finishing number 17. I mean, number 5 with a first-year quarterback and a first-year head coach that's 36 years old. That's a little bit high of a ranking.
Yeah.
So basically what I'm trying to say, Billy, is in that whole span, you really only had like 1 or 2 seasons where they were actually overrated. Otherwise, they were underrated or finished pretty much where they were predicted to finish.
Right. And
So,
Notre Dame is a top tier national program.
right.
So they can't be, they're always going to have good players. They're always going to get their pick of recruits. And, it's very, very difficult to say that they're overrated because it's not like we're talking about, bumblefuck state. This is
Bill, unless you're a fan of Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, I really don't want to hear from you because those are the only teams. And you notice I didn't say Clemson because I think Notre Dame has closed the gap and they hammered Clemson last year. I believe at one point that game was 35-0.
Yeah.
So, unless you're a fan of one of those elite teams, you really don't have a say because Notre Dame is either better than your program or at least, there's a couple of teams maybe you want to say that's on the same level, but you're not going to put anybody else ahead of Notre Dame the last like 10 years other than those big 3. I think they've caught Clemson. I really do.
Yeah.
And I think they're close to Ohio State.
And Miami's gone through some tough years, right? I mean,
yeah, they have.
They were once a dominant program. There's no question about it. Miami was one of them.
And they had a rivalry with Notre Dame in the 80s that was incredible. But, 5 of the last 6 games, Notre Dame's handled Miami. So,
right.
I see why Dobson, at least he's honest about it. But that wasn't directed towards Dobson. That was directed towards these idiots in the mainstream media, especially ESPN, who, Bill, I don't know if you've seen, but they just had a pile of layoffs.
Oh, yeah. They got rid of everybody.
Yeah.
So what's going on with ESPN?
I never like seeing people get fired ever, but
No.
there's a lot of people on there that have zero talent on that list.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's good to see Dobson. That was good to hear, buddy. He came back. He gave us his reason.
And Dobson, don't expect, you're gonna see Yankee fans down there for a very long time. I would not expect that's going to change anytime
Sure,
soon.
And that's the problem with having a team like Tampa Bay Rays down there, Billy. Nobody cares about Tampa Bay,
right?
Down in Florida. They just don't. They're never going to fill that stadium. The Marlins aren't going to fill that stadium.
Right.
Marlins have a good team this year, but I'd like to see their attendance. I bet it might be up a little bit, but it's still probably not that great.
Yeah.
Because there's so many Yankee fans on there. There's a lot of Red Sox fans on there. A lot of, people retire. They go down there. And
that's right.
So, all right, buddy, let's get on to the next one.
All right.
This is from our buddy. We actually had a couple here from Giordano in Rome, Italy, buddy. He said, Shot and Bill, are you guys fans of the show The Blacklist? Shot, it seems like a show that's right up your alley. And if you are a fan, where would you rank that in your all-time list? Yeah, I've been there from the beginning. Bill, I know you stopped watching after a couple of seasons, right?
Probably after 3 or 4 seasons. I think it just got too, I don't know what the word is, maybe convoluted. I don't know. I mean, how many times they went back and forth between, was Red her father? Is he not? Is he, I couldn't.
And they still haven't cleared that up, Billy. But I'll say this about that. I think the first like 3 seasons were excellent. Then they kind of lost their way. And then the last like 2 to 3 seasons have been pretty good. Last 2 seasons, I'd say. And I've actually, this is the last season and I've enjoyed it. I just hope they end it. And I hope they give an explanation of his connection to Elizabeth, but I think James Spader is just a tremendous actor. Mm-hmm. And a side note on him, Billy, he was best friends with RFK Jr. I don't know if you know that. They were college buddies.
No, I didn't know that.
But he's a tremendous actor. And as far as where I would rank that show, I wouldn't rank it in my like top 5 or 10. I mean, it's not better than Sopranos. It's not better than Ray Donovan.
Right.
24 is probably my favorite show of all time. It's not better than that. So I wouldn't rank it, probably my top 10, but I think it's had a good run. Like I said, the middle seasons there, like you said, Bill, it just got convoluted. I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
what was going on there, but I think they've had a good run, Billy, and the last couple of seasons have been pretty good. So that's where I stand on that, buddy.
All right. I mean, again, I did enjoy it the first few seasons. I loved, what was her husband's name? Tom, right?
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
good.
I mean, he was
And
good
then
in
they
it.
tried a spin-off, Billy. They did
Then
a
they tried to
spin-off with
spin him
him, and
off,
that
and that
didn't
didn't
work.
work. That lasted like 2 episodes. Um, and I'm trying to think of there've been a couple of really good actors and actresses on that show. I know.
Oh yeah, well Janice is on there now from Sopranos.
Oh, is she really?
She's a member like Red's crew, and it's interesting, Bill. That Red, it actually turns out that Red is more of he has an independent intelligence group more so than a criminal organization. Like they were selling intelligence, and they had this, that's what the blacklist is, and that's what he basically they exposed him as an intelligence operative more so than a criminal, than a common criminal. So that was kind of interesting, and that's also the original genesis of that was kind of based on Whitey Bulger, from what I
Right.
read.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it's a good show, but I wouldn't rate it as it's not better than Ray Donovan. It's not better than Sopranos.
Yeah. I wouldn't put it in anywhere near my top 10, probably not even my top 20. I don't know. One of these days we'll have to do a top 10 list for our shows.
Yeah, definitely. We'll definitely do that. So let's move on, Billy, because we got a lot of comments here. We got Mr. Duncan from Auckland, New Zealand, Billy. That's our reach, buddy. New Zealand. We get a lot of views in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Sean and Bill, on the website, you wrote an article on a cold case murder from your hometown, and it sounds like a deep state CIA hit. Did you find any CIA connection with that? And Bill, what he's referring to is the article I wrote a long time ago, Billy, when we first put up the blog on a cold case murder in not my hometown but close, Scranton. And yeah, it does. I mean, it does. That did the first thing when I was looking at the evidence and stuff. Yeah, I did. It does seem like a professional CIA type hit, but I've never seen any evidence of why they would be involved in that, and I never seen any connection to it. But that's just a strange story, Billy. And it's just they never found a killer, and
Yeah.
it's still a cold case, buddy.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So, okay, next question is from JC in Auburn, California. Guys, the Cuban Missile Crisis episode was your best. I would love to hear more on China invaded India in the Berlin Wall crisis. Well, we're gonna do a couple episodes on that. Actually, Billy, you might be lining up a guest talk about Berlin, right?
Yeah. My cousin who is, he lives in Germany, and he's actually he's in the media in Germany. He covers a lot of interesting things in Germany. He's like on national. He's like a national broadcaster, and he definitely will be joining us one of these days. I have to kind of nail down a good date for him, but yeah, he knows a lot about that. He's actually done quite a bit of research on the Berlin airlift. So yeah.
Okay, so another comment. This is from the Hat in Algiers, Algeria, Billy.
Wow.
Great podcast with an all-star lineup of guests: Jim Diagenio, Lisa Pease, Don McGovern, and Richard Otto. Very impressive, guys. Well, thanks. And you could add, David Talbot to that.
Right.
Dr. Greg Palgrain. I mean, Alex Robinson. I mean, we've had a pretty good run, Billy. And then we got some more big hitters lined up, Billy, coming up.
Yeah, and don't forget Angelo Mariucci.
Wow, yeah. How can anybody forget Big Ange?
Hey, we actually got a question, Sean. I don't know if you saw this one. We got one on our Facebook page.
No.
The actual that's enough out of you Facebook, which we never do anything with it anymore.
No, I use all my social media, but go ahead, Billy. I didn't see that one.
So this one comes from Brian Lennon. So we were actually on the Brian Lennon podcast a few months ago. And Brian, and we're gonna have those guys on our show one of these days. But Brian,
definitely.
Brian poses a question, which I don't know if we can necessarily give an answer to this, but it's definitely something to think about. It has the feeling of this. So he's asking if we think that the CIA is behind the Wagner Group, which is that sort of militia that was staging a coup in Russia.
Right. I mean, I don't have a definitive answer on that, Bill, but I tell you what, the fingerprints are all there.
And it certainly has all the earmarks of a CIA, black op, but we'll have to see, because I have a feeling that story is not over.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's a lot there, Billy. I mean, why, they were heading towards, and then they turned around. So,
right.
What the heck happened there? But yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I haven't looked into that much, but from what I know and from what I read about it, I mean, the fingerprints of intelligence are right there, buddy.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's something the CIA, the CIA and the KGB has been fighting covert wars against each other since World War II. So
yeah, interesting.
Yeah, that's a great question, Billy.
Yep.
And we should probably cover that. We should probably do some research and get into that, buddy.
All right. I'm good for that.
Okay, this is from Barry in Philadelphia, Billy. Love your podcast. Agree with everything Mr. Otto said, except the fact that he said Russiagate being a hoax. I don't believe that. We got an episode with Rick Otto coming up that we recorded, and we gave him a forum to explain that, because we did get a lot of feedback on that, Billy, a lot of pushback. Yeah, there was a couple people that agreed with him, but there was a lot of people that didn't. And this is where the political stuff gets in, and you get, we try to avoid that, getting into picking sides and stuff. But it was an interesting discussion with Rick Otto, so we gave him his time to explain the situation, and that episode will be coming up. Yeah, this bonus episode will air before that episode comes out, and I will say this: we don't necessarily agree with everything that everybody says on this show, right? All of our guests, we don't necessarily agree with everything they say, but we want to give them a forum. We want to give them an opportunity to present to you guys what they have found, what they have researched, and what they believe. We don't expect we don't expect our listeners to believe everything. And we welcome the feedback. We welcome the differing opinions. And, that's really what this is about. It's about, not censoring anybody. We did talk about that too with Rick on this episode. We talked about, censorship in this country, and how so many people are being shut out by the mainstream media. And, we don't want to do that. We want to give everybody a voice. We want to give, everybody who has legitimate, who's done legitimate research and who has their facts in front of them, give them an opportunity to come on the show and present those to you. That's really what we're doing. That's all we're doing here. So yeah, we like I said, we don't necessarily agree with everything, but we want to give them an opportunity to present. All right, the next question, Bill, is a tremendous question. It's from Giordano in Rome, Italy again. He said, Bill and Sean, love the Castellano episode. Bill, your Gotti Locasio impressions were brilliant. Thank you. My question is, take Gotti out of the picture. Let's say he goes to jail. What would the future of the Gambino family look like then? Wow. Well, we saw that. We saw what happened when he went to jail. I think what he's referring to, Bill, is when the time period before when Castellano was still alive. Like, let's say, I think this is what he's referring to. Like, Castellano's still alive, and Gotti never had the opportunity to take him out. He went to jail. Yeah. So would the question, like, we know Castellano probably ends up in jail because he's under indictment on the commission trial, and everybody else on the commission went to prison. So I don't see why Castellano would have got off.
Right.
We know Dela Croce was dying.
Yeah.
And
I
the
think
thing is,
I think it's what we talked about, Sean. Frankie DeChico would have become boss.
right, but he probably would have waited, Bill. I don't think they would have made the move. Like, I think this is what his question is. Like, I don't think DeChico and Gravano would have made the move on Castellano without Gotti. And I
Right.
think they would have waited. So Castellano would have went to jail.
Right.
LaCroix would have died. And then, DeChico would have been next in line. It would have been interesting, Bill, because he presents a totally different adversary for the FBI than John Gotti. I mean,
Right.
DeChico was smarter. He was a little bit more in the shadows. But again, with RICO laws, they probably would have got DeChico anyway. But I think it would have been a lot tougher for the FBI than it was for taking down Gotti.
And I don't think it wouldn't have been as public. Right. I don't think it would have been, it wouldn't have been front page news or whatever, I think it would have been,
I don't think DeChico would have been in the papers. Like, he would have been more in the shadows
because
he was smarter to.
Right. Who knew anything about him? Even when Gotti was, when he was in his heyday, nobody knew anything about
Right.
DeChico.
Right. And because he stayed in the shadows, Billy.
Right.
Right. So, but that is a great question. Next one is from Larry in Quebec, Canada. He said, Sean, love the blog articles on the website, but Bill, where is your articles? Well, see, Bill, this is an old question because we're so behind on these questions. Bill actually has an article up on the blog.
I do. And I need to write more, and I will.
It's a time, but I know, buddy.
Listen,
Billy's an editor. He's working on editing these episodes. I mean, it takes a lot of time. We record them and then research for the recording, then you edit them. And
full disclosure, listener, I have two kids who do a lot of different things. We're running all over the place. I work full time. I have a very, very a property that needs a lot of upkeep, and I work on that quite a bit. This podcast takes a lot of time to edit. As we record this, I'm about 3 episodes behind in editing, and not to make excuses. I mean, I enjoy writing, and I will get to a point where I'll get caught up and I'll be able to do some more writing, and I have a lot of things to write about. I appreciate
Bill. Honestly, I've slowed down too on the writing the articles. I'm gonna have to start stepping up because Nathan's right in the heart of Teen League baseball season, buddy, and it's tied up a lot of my time, and I just I don't have the time to write the articles I had earlier. I was putting out quite a bit, but it slowed down. But we'll get back at it there, Larry.
Yeah, and appreciate the interest, and I definitely want to I want to do a lot more writing, so that'll happen.
And the analytics, Bill, are pretty good. I checked them the other day. Like, we're getting a lot of views on there. So I like the interest people have, and we'll get more on there. Don't worry.
Yep.
And we'll try to put one up when we have a guest. We'll try to make it relevant to the guest that we have on that week. And we'll put other stuff on there too. So, Bill, this one, you're going to like this one, Bill. This is from Julian in Tel Aviv, Israel.
Hey,
He said, Shada Bill, did you read the book Chaos by Tom O'Neill on a CIA connection to Charles Manson? You should do a podcast episode on this. Well, I've been trying to get Tom O'Neill. We're working behind the scenes trying to get him. He's a very, very hard guy to get. I don't know if he's working on a project or something, but he's not really doing any public stuff right now. But it's getting to a point, Bill, where I think we're going to have to do an episode on this, because I did an episode. If people want to go back on Garlic Jar podcast, I did an episode on Charles Manson, and I reviewed this book Chaos. But I think we're going to have to do one, Bill, if we can't get O'Neill soon, because this is too much of an important story that we have to get.
Right.
We have to get out of. We're going to have to do this episode if we can't get O'Neill, and even if we do it, we can still get O'Neill hopefully down the road. We're still going to keep working on that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a topic I want to get into for sure. Yeah.
So we got a few more comments here, Billy. We got Lynn in Taipei City, Taiwan, Billy. Shana Bill, very informative, well-produced podcast. My favorite was the Vietnam series. Outstanding. Well, thanks, Lynn.
Yeah, thank you.
Next one is from Sam Sebastianelli. Great topics, guys. Keep them coming. I would wonder if you guys ever consider doing your podcast with video. Oh boy, I'm going to be in trouble with this one. Video like Joe Rogan or Howard Stern, because fans of your show will feel a deeper connection with you guys, in my opinion. Well, I know, Bill, I know what you're going to say. Get a camera, Billy, get a camera. I know I haven't had a lot of time. I know. But yeah, we're going to do video. We're going to do video.
Yeah. And
if you want,
if you want me to never be able to write an article, then we'll do video. But that takes a lot more time to edit video.
Yeah.
But we will do that. I think let's get through, we're coming up. We're probably, what are we, a couple months away, 3 months away from our 1 year.
Yeah, we started in October, Billy.
We started in October. So we're a little ways away from our 1 year anniversary. Let's get through this first year. Let's get this year under our belt. And then, we may take a short break, short hiatus, and start season 2 officially with video. So we'll see. That's a possibility. There's a lot of things we have to work on. We have to work out there logistically, but we may do that.
So Billy, we're caught up. We got 3 comments left, buddy, and then we're all caught up, if you could believe that.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is from our buddy Rick Otto. He put this on a website, but I feel it's important enough to read. Excellent podcasts. Podcasts such as this can teach those willing to listen about their past and why it is relevant to what is happening today. Bill and Sean have earned the respect and support of authors in their conversations and their search for the truth. And that is why I try to encourage others to listen to their show. Well, that's a great comment from
wow,
from Rick. Yeah, that's tremendous, Billy. And yeah. So thank you there, Rick. And
thank you, Rick.
His episode, his second appearance will be coming up shortly.
Yeah, and it's a great episode too. And Rick's he's a great guest. I wish his Wi-Fi worked a little bit better.
Yeah, it takes Bill a long time to edit.
But that's high praise, and we really, really appreciate that. We did not have any expectations of any of these things happening when we started this. So that's fantastic. Thank you, Rick. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, Bill, we got to sit back and think about the authors we had on. We had some big hitters on, and it started with Lisa Pease, and she's been a force getting us a lot of guests, and we thank her.
And Lisa,
it's been tremendous.
Yeah, and I reached out to Lisa a few days ago. I think I told you this, Sean. After I listened to the RFK Jr. interview with speaking of Joe Rogan, it was like a 3-hour interview.
Right.
And I got a lot of information out of it. I know he's been heavily criticized, and I know none of the mainstream media outlets will have JFK or RFK Jr. on.
No.
But if you get a chance, and again, not saying you have to believe everything he says, but check it out.
Just hear him out.
He appeared on Joe Rogan. And the nice thing about going on Joe Rogan is there are not constant interruptions. There's no yelling. There's no cutting off. Joe Rogan lets these guys talk. He asks the right questions. He asks the same questions that I would, trying to get to the heart of the truth, trying to pick apart what they're saying. And it was a fantastic interview. And I said to Lisa, I said, if you get a chance to talk to RFK Jr., just tell him, he has a new fan out there, because I really was impressed with him. So,
well, the one thing I take of all the times that I hear him speak, Bill, every time it's refreshing. He doesn't bash his opponents.
Right.
He tells you what he wants to do and what his agenda is. And he doesn't have to stoop to this name calling, this back and forth bickering that's been going on for years. in politics, and it's kind of refreshing. It's
He
kind of
doesn't talk
refreshing.
in sound bites. All
No,
these politicians, they know that, 5 seconds of what they say is going to be played, and they're going to get, 2-minute clips on YouTube and this and that. With RFK Jr., you got to really listen to everything he says. And I know, and I sent you, he was also on with Bill Maher. And I sent you a clip of that, Sean.
yeah.
And
And even though he got some of the facts wrong there,
he
Billy,
did, he did.
did say that it was a conspiracy and everything. So it's
Yeah.
definitely worth listening to, and I'm not really a fan of Maher, but I mean, I did enjoy that interview. I thought, he gave him his fair shake, and it was a good interview.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, sorry to get off track.
that's all right, Billy. We're almost there, buddy. We're almost there, buddy.
Let's keep
We'll
going.
probably get bombarded with 20 questions tomorrow, buddy. But hey, we're gonna catch up at least for one night.
All right.
So next one is from Jim Richmond. And he said, back to the JFK assassination. I can't remember if it was discussed or not, but did they find different bullet types? Also, possible subject for future is interrogation and the psychological experiments by Ted Kaczynski that he underwent at Harvard. Keep up the great work. Love the podcast.
That's a good one because he just recently died, right?
He did, yeah. And Kaczynski, Lisa Pease is always telling us, especially me, Bill, she always tells me, stop saying MK Ultra for every mind control, reference, because the CIA had multiple mind control programs.
Right.
But one of the programs, the doctors were professors there at Harvard working with Kaczynski early in his life. So that's a thing that's fascinating. And yeah, we'll probably do a show on that. And we're probably going to have to bring Lisa on for that.
Right.
Really
Yeah.
get her expertise. As far as the bullets, we got Jim DiEugenio's coming up. His episode is going to be air. And we really go into a lot of detail on the autopsy, Billy. And he really goes over all of this really well. I don't know about the different types. I don't think, because there's just so much the evidence in his case is just an absolute disaster, Bill. And when you hear the DiEugenio talk about the autopsy, I mean, what did he say, Bill? It was like an autopsy for worthy for like a homeless bum.
Well, he said
worse than that.
Worse than that, yeah. He said it was worse.
And it's the president of the United States, and it's just And then when we talk about the Harper fragment, and Bill, you asked a great question on that one. You said, how in the world, what kind of crime scene is this where you got citizens walking around picking up evidence?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it was just a disaster.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so,
that was one I'd never heard before. That's amazing.
Yeah, the whole Harper fragment thing is tremendous part of the story. And see, this is the problem, Bill, when you don't have guys like DiEugenio in the mainstream saying things, because Bill, it's just like the same thing. I had a guy call me the other day, and I don't want to say who it was, but he called me up and he said, I didn't even know RFK Jr. was running for president, because he's blocked from the mainstream media. And
exactly.
The guy's not on social media as much, and he doesn't see, he's not on Twitter. He's not going to see all of RFK Jr.'s posts. So he doesn't have access. He's not going to be seen on ABC or NBC or any of those. And he didn't even know he was running.
But you know what? Going back to what I said earlier, Joe Rogan actually has a bigger audience than CNN or MSNBC, probably even Fox. I think Fox, I'd have to look up what the numbers are. I mean, Joe Rogan's got like 80 million.
Oh, ridiculous. Yeah.
So he's going to get the word out. I mean, interesting that different presidents have different ways of using
going around the mainstream media, Bill.
Right. Exactly. I mean, Trump did it with Twitter, essentially. Right. And maybe RFK Jr. could do it with this kind of media, with podcasts and things like that aren't necessarily considered mainstream, but there's a tremendous audience out there.
And Bill, I think, I mean, I don't agree with everything that Joe Rogan says, but he really is a tremendous interviewer.
Right. And very, I don't think anybody agrees with everything Joe Rogan says.
No, and there's a lot of things I don't like. He says I don't agree
Right.
with, but he's still a tremendous interviewer. And
He really is. He really is. And every so often, I'll kind of do kind of get lost in some of his interviews. Difficult, to do a lot because some of those interviews are like 3 or 4 hours long.
Oh yeah. Well, the one he did with Oliver Stone, Bill, was tremendous.
That was amazing.
When he was talking, Oliver was talking about his experience in Vietnam and the combat he's seen. That was just, that's just a tremendous interview.
Yeah, there was a good one he did with Leah Remini.
Yeah, I seen that one.
Yeah, and that was about what's the church that
church, just Scientology.
Scientology. That was an excellent one. There was another one he did with this girl who escaped from North Korea. I was crying.
Oh, yeah, you told me about that one.
Oh my God. So anyway, all right. What else we got?
Let's wrap this up with one from your brother, Billy, Jonathan.
All right.
So this is a great comment, Billy. He says, love the Cuban Missile Crisis episode. How can we talk about leadership on global level without this stunning historical chapter? How many podcasts besides yours covers this? That says a lot. Thank you for the awesome shout out too, bro. It was a day maker.
Oh, that's great.
Also, pursuit of the truth is great. Mission statement. So yeah, this is just a great comment from your brother there, Billy.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. That's great. Yeah, and we had a great conversation. We caught up with Jonathan a couple weeks ago. My son's birthday party and just had a great conversation with him. I always do.
That was great. That was a good time. Yeah.
So I appreciate you listening, bro. And we'll catch up. We'll talk to you again.
And maybe we could get him on to talk about Mike Tyson because he knows a lot about Tyson.
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, I forgot I was going to text him about that. So
yeah, I enjoyed that. That was a good conversation we had with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all right, Billy, we're all caught up, buddy. We're all caught up. So imagine that, pal.
I can't wait till I'm caught up. One of these days.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, we got so much going on. The website, that'senoughoutofyou.com. We got our merch store on there. We got Patreon going on. We got we got Twitter, we got Facebook, we got YouTube, everything. We're not hard to find, Sean. You just gotta Google it. Google That's Enough Out of You, and we come up.
But one thing I just want to end with, I get a lot of requests on people that ask, why don't we do an episode on like Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster and UFOs and stuff? And listen, all that stuff interests me. I read all about that stuff, but we're not a conspiracy show. And I think the word conspiracy has been brought to a taboo level. And we know the reason. We know Alan Dulles and all his nonsense with that. And the media loves to just hammer anybody searching for the truth and call them crazy conspiracy theorists. But we don't. I think we debunk more conspiracies on the show than we actually prove, Billy.
Yeah.
We did. I think we did a great job debunking that election 1960 garbage.
Right.
We debunked a lot of the Marilyn Monroe nonsense. We had Don McGovern on, and we definitely debunked the lone gunman theory and all the assassinations of the 60s. And we debunked the Vietnam, that JFK got us in Vietnam. So I think we did a lot of debunking. And as far as doing like Bigfoot and stuff, like I just have like a knowledge of that, but I don't think like a show, like we would really accomplish anything by doing a show on that, Billy. You know what I mean? Like I just don't think that's anything that we really want to pursue on this podcast. Did you?
Yeah, no, I'm not necessarily interested in that. If we can find, an interesting author who has some good, who's done some good
that'd be different.
on it. Yeah, that's different. But we're not going to do a show based on, what people have said and written about. So,
but I think what we accomplished up to this point, Billy, I think we've done a lot. I think we've proven a lot of stuff.
Right.
People are going to make their decision. I know when that stupid movie with Al Pacino comes out, everything we said is some people, it's just going to go in one ear out the other. And they're going to say, well, there's a movie out, Al Pacino's in it. And, it's got to be true. And we'll have to answer those same questions again when that movie comes out, Billy. But
that's all right. That's all right. We'll get us some attention, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, All right, buddy. I
All
think
right.
you did a good job tonight, pal.
I do too. A lot of good questions. Thank you. I mean, our listeners are great. Our listeners are the best. So thank you guys for coming up with these questions and comments for us. And we appreciate it. We'll do more of these bonus episodes in the future for sure. But I think this gets us caught up for now. So Sean, what do we say?
That's enough out of you.
Enough out of you. Thanks, everybody.
Good night, everybody.